Unity of Charlotte is my home, and it's your home too. And it's so good to see these beautiful faces, all of you, each one of you. So I want to welcome you to Unity of Charlotte on this absolutely pristine, gorgeous morning. And to know that you two belong in this place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. And simply put, we are here to love, grow, serve, and sometimes to love, serve because it helps us grow. So I'm Reverend Pat Dre, and it is my pleasure to be with you this morning for the wonderful message that we're here for our chance to be together and to know that we are protected and protected in this beautiful place. So we're going to start today's service by sharing our statement of oneness that will lead us into our opening prayer and our prayer that is already drawing our right and perfect minister to us. So join with me in saying our prayer of oneness. There is one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God, good omnipotence. And interestingly enough, in Daily Word, I was going to go through and find a prayer on protection, because that's what we need to be reminded about these days, that we are truly protected. And guess what August 8th is? Protection. So there we go. It always works. It always works. Yes. So take a breath, a nice deep one, and let it go. It is our perfect way of clearing our space to be here in this prayer and in this moment. And once again, through my oneness with God, I feel protected. Sometimes I may feel at the mercy of the changing, tumultuous world that I cannot control. But this is never true. Even though the chaos of the world may swirl around me, at the center of my being is a place of perfect peace and calm. Wherever I am, and wherever I am in the need of a safe refuge, I turn to God within to reach this place of tranquility and reclaim my feeling of security and protection. The sun always rises after the longest, darkest night. I remind myself of this truth and feel grateful as I allow the light of spiritual understanding to release and reclaim whatever power I may have unwittingly given to a fear-based thought. Fully in tune with the divine presence within me, I move safely and confidently through every challenging circumstance. The one who is in you is greater than the one who is in the world. John 4:4. Beautiful. And now join with me in saying our prayer that is already drawing to us the right and perfect minister. Together, we affirm that we are calling in and ready to receive another wonderful minister who is heart-centered, wise, sincere, humorous, and collaborative, who openly walks a spiritual path of love, growth, and service. And so it is. I am reminded in our protected prayer this morning that as part of unity, we recognize that God is all there is and God is good. I'm also reminded that God is within. And so I recently said to my son, my 6'5" son with 3 children under the age of 9, that I was praying. I did a gesture from my childhood. I'm praying to God for, and he says to me, I thought God was within. And I said, I stand corrected. So thank you again for being with us this morning, and welcome to those of you who are with us on Zoom today. And thank you for getting on the Zoom a little bit early so that we can see your faces. And for those of you on YouTube, welcome as well. We like it that you are part of us here at Unity, joining us for the wonderful message we have today. If you or anyone you know is in need of prayer, please place your prayer request at our Unity website, unityofcharlotte.org. Our prayer team is always ready to speak our word for your intentions and your needs. And we love holding you in our prayer. You can also call the Unity Telephone Prayer Ministry, Silent Unity, at 800 now pray for a personal affirmative prayer. I'd like to start with the event that's coming up fairly soon in September, and that is our Unity Day of Prayer on Thursday, September 9th, which is going to be held at the Heart Light Center. And we're using the Heart Light Sanctuary because they were so generous to us to host this event. It is a New Thought event where we celebrate the Unity Day of Prayer. And we chose to do it at the Heart Light Center this year because we want to make it open and welcome to all New Thought people or any people who wish to join us and need a little bit more freedom and not to remove shoes as we do out of respect for our Sikh community here. So please put that in your calendars to join us for that event from about 7 to 8 p.m. From 6 to 7 p.m., we will be having meditations from New Thought leaders, and then from 7 to 8, a prayer circle for the entire public that comes. And then on Saturday, September 11th, we are hosting a picnic, more details to follow. Of course, we do have our Unity Men's Group that meets on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays from 9:30 to 11 here at the church. We have an affirmative prayer and meditation group that continues to meet on Tuesday evenings from 7:15 p.m. to 8 p.m. to set a prayerful energy for Unity of Charlotte, the city, and the world. And Dialogue as Service, led by Barbara Rolfe, which is focusing on the work of Lucille Cedarcrans, and that is on Wednesdays from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. The book club meets every third Sunday of the month, and the Course in Miracles meets on Thursday mornings at 9:30 a.m. So those are our announcements, and it is now time to invite up our wonderful Rebecca Nagy, Reverend Rebecca, a true wonderful storyteller, a wonderful, with a deep understanding of New Thought and Unity principles. And also, she always shows up as her authentic self. And so we welcome you, Rebecca, and you are ready to run a marathon. Look at you. You're almost there. All of that hard work and prayer, meeting your mobility needs, because in your mind, you're already perfect.
I'm already perfect.
Thank you for being with us, dear friend.
Thank you, dear friend. Yes. Yeah, it's staying. That was authentic self was obviously a segue into what we're talking about today. And I'm kind of piggybacking on the last week when I was talking about soul purpose. Well, today I'm talking about don't be a copycat. And I take any and every opportunity, just as a warning for the future, of sharing with you, my delightful four-legged child, which is Gabriel. So when I thought about the idea of don't be a copycat, I thought, well, let me just show you a picture of my copycat because he is just adorable. And this is typical of him hugging. And that's one of the things we miss today is hugging, right? So I'm so lucky to have a four-legged that as soon as you sit, now, not even if it's anybody new, not just me, as soon as you sit in a seat in my home, he is on your lap and putting his paws around your neck. This is not the typical cat. I call him cat dog because he's so affectionate. And for those of you that have known me for a long time, you know that I like to start out with a joke or a funny story. So today I decided to tell you about how to get to heaven. A teacher asked the children in her Sunday school class, if I sold my house and my car, had a big garage sale and gave all the money to the church, would I get into heaven? No, the children answered. If I cleaned the church every day, mowed the yard, and kept everything neat and tidy, would I then get to heaven? Again, the answer was no. Well, she continued, then how can I get into heaven? And in the back of the room, a 5-year-old boy shouted, you gotta be dead. And that just reminds us, I think, about why we're here on earth. It's not to be a copycat, it's to be our own authentic self. Because, especially today, I think sometimes reality is just too real for most of us. And we look around and we look at other people and they seem to be so much better off than we are sometimes. Because you know why? We look at the stuff. We look at their stuff. We look at what stuff they seem to have. And I learned this lesson kind of the hard way when I was still in seminary. And I admired a fellow seminarian so much. She seemed to have the perfect life, this fabulous husband, these beautiful kids. And she seemed to always be happy. And I went up to her one day and I said, Pat, interestingly, her name was Pat. I said, I just so admire your life and it seems to be so great and blah, blah, blah. And went on. And she said, that is a perception that you need to let go of because everybody has their challenges. You just see what I project onto the world. You don't know about my life. I went, whoa, such a good lesson. Our best lessons sometimes are the ones that go to us, right? And so she seemed to have the perfect life. And so when we use this idea of looking at other people and saying, okay, I'm going to be just like them and I'm going to do this, we feel kind of, it's really a form of defense. We think it's a protective or a protection mechanism, but it's really a defensive mechanism, isn't it? We are protecting ourselves from what we seem to think is our own imperfection. I talked about that last week. So ultimately doing this makes us feel more secure. But as long as that's what we want, we're going to be constantly forced to use this idea to buffer ourselves from our own life instead of living our life, instead of living it. Jump in, embrace it, swim around in it, get all dirty in it, So I love, y'all will learn to know that I happen to love Brene Brown, and I'm going to tell you why. Years ago, when I was going through a very tough time in my life, burying myself in the opinions of others and thinking I was less than, I read her book and it saved my life because it reminded me to be who I am, not to be what I feel others think I should be. And I grew up that way as a child, being the only girl in a family of 5. And in those days, the olden days, little girls were supposed to be seen and not heard. And I was told that a lot. Be quiet. Now, let me tell you something. I don't like to be quiet. I come by this vocation naturally. because I like to talk. And I like to have you listen to me when I talk. And I like to be able to empathize with you when I speak. So we look at authenticity, as Brene Brown says. Authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real. The choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. And what is this choice? It is truth. That's what I think it is. It's looking at the truth. Boy, do we hear a lot of not truth today. But is today any different than yesterday or the day before? One of the challenges we have right now is to look into our hearts and see, does that resonate with me? Or am I feeling something down here in my solar plexus that just doesn't quite feel right? So we want to focus with empathy on our authentic self, which we know is strong, secure, and loving. And today I'm going to be focusing on love because you are a replica of the God source within you, Pat. It was so funny when you said that. I said, okay, we're going to be talking about the God within today and where that seat of love is all about. Coincidence? I think not. Although, to be honest with you, we meet in our dreams and we discuss things all the time, right? But see, that's also about how to be authentic. Is we find sometimes ourselves floundering or being swayed this way or that by all those opinions I keep talking about, other people, the OPs, right? Excuse me. We also get swayed by what we read in the news. Now, let me tell you something about the news. In order to find the truth in the news, don't listen to it. That's one of the things I have learned over many, many years of being in this business, is that's the opinion of somebody else. Or if you're going to listen to the news, listen to all of it, right, left, middle, and different, because therein also lies the truth. But you have to understand that the truth in the physical world is being colored by physical emotion. When you are in emotion, the truth cannot set you free because you don't know what the truth is. You have to wade through all this other stuff. So what I offer to you is when you feel fear, or if you feel something that is not right, then you need to look at having a course correction. Now, the idea of course correction I chose to use is a submarine, because a submarine has to recalibrate every 60 to 90 days due to the magnetic pull of the Earth. Every 60 to 90 days. I think we as human beings need to do it every 60 to 90 seconds. So it has to, so that the submarine has to resurface and make course adjustments and all manner of other corrections before getting back to its job as a submarine. So we need to look at that as well. Remember that what our humanness is reflects into the material world. The submarine is something that we created from our minds. Our reality is something that we are created from our minds. And just like the submarine has to recalibrate from the magnetic field, then we also look at recalibrating from our minds, because thoughts are magnetic and thoughts have a frequency. As you think thoughts, they are sent out into the universe. Now, who said this? Oh, yes, of course, Rhonda Byrne, The Secret. They are sent out into the universe and they magnetically attract all like things that are on the same frequency. Everything sent out returns to the source, you. All right. So you look at your life and you look at what you're attracting in your life. And if you're not exactly where you feel you want to be, feel being the operative word, then you change your thought and you allow yourself to magnetize then. And magnetizing was really great for me last night. I was officiating a wedding uptown at Byron South End. Now, I don't know if y'all have been uptown lately, but boy, howdy, it has changed over the last couple of years. I couldn't get into the parking deck because it was full. And I was like, I have to officiate a wedding in 30 minutes. What am I supposed to do? Am I doing that? No. Okay. So what am I supposed to do? And I thought, okay, let's manifest a parking place. So I went around the block and I made the affirmation. I pulled back to the block that it stood on, and right in front was a car pulling out. The only problem was it was parallel parking. And so I went back to all those years of learning driving, and that was many years ago. And so I pulled up and I thought, so I saw this couple walking down the street and I said, would y'all help me? I decided to be a little bit more Southern than I usually am. And I said, would y'all help me get into this parking place? And they did. And I was there on time. And I didn't have to pay for parking right in front. So yay, God within my mind. How many times that's sort of metaphysics 101, isn't it? The first thing you do is manifest parking spaces, right? I thought, I still got it, even after all these years. And so as metaphysicians, we acknowledge this, we own it, we embrace it, and we recalibrate ourselves to the fact that we need, I hate that word. What's another word? We allow ourselves to open our mind to the co-creative force within us. And we create this, thus we create through the power of the mind. And this leads me to Don Miguel Ruiz, who's told us in his works that the word Toltec means artist. So what does an artist do? An artist creates. He goes on to say, this ancient way of being clearly recognizes that every person on earth is an artist, even if they don't know it. It's sort of like we go around thinking, what is this happening? Why is this happening? Well, we created this. There's also the collective happenings that we collectively agreed to so that can help the world have a course creation, right? So we create those course corrections. He goes on to say, we are an ongoing creation. Everyone creates a masterpiece of art. It is a story, the story of our lives. So I'm going to say to you, the story of our life right now is shifting all the time because we need to allow ourselves to go with the flow. One of the ideas here is to change your point of view, change your story. Look at the way you're allowing yourself to look at the world. When you change your point of view, you change your story. So look at things in a different way. Allow yourself to see what's happening in first your own life, because you know what? Until we can change the world, we have to change within ourselves. So first look to yourself and understand that our bodies, our mind, our emotions are our home. And everywhere we go is an extension of our home. 3 feet of personal space. That's where we live. And right now, when we're supposed to be keeping 6 feet away from each other, right? Focus on creating that personal space and pushing out your loving energy another 6 feet so that love touches people. Love touches people. You know that when you walk into a space, you can feel the emotion sometimes. Has anyone ever been into any of the great cathedrals in the world where centuries of prayer have created this amazing grace of energy? And so what we do is we have to be aware of that where we are is also a church or a temple. And whatever energy we are carrying with us into the spaces we go is an act of prayer, an act of grace. And whoever comes behind us will come into that field, will come into that grace, that energy of love. And so as we try to control ourselves to love ourselves, we want to look at the fact that God is ourself. We are little gods in the making. And with God, all things are possible. Gee, there's a book that says that in it, right? With God, all things are possible. And God can only do for you what he can do through you. The great Eric Butterworth said that. Through you. One of the things I think I shared with you last week is the idea of my will to thine, O Lord. Not my will, your will instead of mine, but my mind with you, my will with you. We're doing this together, God. So let me have you come through me because you're within me so that all of humanity can be in harmony, just like magic, if we would just love ourselves without conditions. And so in so doing this, we do surrender to the will of God, recognizing as we do, we're actually claiming our co-creative powers to manifest upon the earth plane. Yes, you're going to hear me say that many, many times in many, many ways, because we are being charged right now to create a new reality. Out of the chaos comes order. And so we look at this idea, and I'm not even going to try to say this person's name. If it is conditional, it is not love. If it is, whoops, did I go past it? Or did I get out of sync? I got out of sync. So I'm going to go forward just a little bit. We're going to go, there it is. If it's conditional, it is not love. Have we heard, if you do this for me, I will accept you. I'll love you if, I'll love you when. Do you say to yourself, I'll love myself better when I've lost 25 pounds? I've recently lost 25 pounds and I'm in the same place I was before the 25 pounds because I'm still me. Just because I change my physical doesn't mean I'm changing myself within, right? So as I learn to love myself as I am, not as others say I should be. And I go back to years ago when I was still in the fashion business, and we all went to the same diet doctor, Dr. Stephen Levine on West 76th Street. And he would give us every month a little bag of pills, pink, purple, yellow, blue. I think there was a green one too. And we were all rail thin. We were all like Valley of the Dolls because we were all in the fashion business and we needed to be thin in order to be acceptable. We all wore black, which is a habit I'm trying to get out of. We all wore makeup out to here. We were all the fashionistas. And then as we got older, we realized that we had really messed up our metabolisms because we kept artificially thin, trying to be like everybody else in the fashion business. And so there is a difference between truth and conditional love. When you're in truth, you're in unconditional love because conditional love tries to control, whereas truth allows itself to express through us. Now we're going to go back to the Apostle John. I'm just going to leave the whole thing up here. You know, in the Bible, John was the beloved, right? He represented the ultimate love of God. And so he's this disciple that Jesus loved, and all his teachings and writings, love is the dominant theme. And so he said, 4:16, God is love, and he that abideth in love abideth in God, and God abideth with him, within us. We love because he first loved us. We were created out of love. And I said, I think last week, that God does not create junk. God doesn't make mistakes. He created us out of love. In all of our imperfections, I talked about the spirituality of imperfection last week. We are actually perfect, exactly who we are, where we are, what we are. And if a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen cannot love God whom he hath not seen. Now think about this, please. When you get into your car and you get on the freeway and someone cuts you off, do you say, bless you? Well, or if you're Southern, you say, bless your heart. But what's your thought? What's your feeling behind that thought, right? Just the simplest things, the little bit of energy we put out when someone doesn't do what we want them to do because we're in our controlled, conditional love state. Don't be a copycat because other people are judging others. Be unique in your love for one another. As John says in 4:21, and this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also, and sister, and four-legged cats and dogs, and everything that walks upon the earth. We already did that one. So the idea that I know I had to do some little off factor here because it becomes very simple. You love your pets unconditionally. They could do all sorts of nasty things. And you say, oh, it's so cute. Take that headless mouse and put it outside. That's my kitty, right? He doesn't go outside. He only goes into the garage. He thinks the garage is the great outdoors. So every once in a while, he'll bring me a tailless lizard or a headless mouse. But we love them because they're just so cute and so good and so precious. But this is something I really love this from Steve Jobs. When your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. Your heart and intuition thinketh in the heart. That's what we're being challenged to do today, is allowing ourselves to see what's going on in our own lives or others or the world. Look at it, put it in your heart and see how it feels. And if the energy drops down, like I said earlier, into the solar plexus, that's not love. That's fear. Bring it up. Love it. Release it, knowing that it is perfect as our Father in heaven is perfect. Because we want to be ourselves. So let's begin to shift our lives from manifesting stuff, manifesting things, except for parking places. We can still do that. Let's do that. To living deeply connected. Because this is how we can free ourselves from wanting what others have. Free ourselves from being a copycat. To living the dream of our soul and co-creating with God. And so it is. And now, thank you. We're going to go within, thinking about this phrase from Rumi. You have no need to travel anywhere. Journey within yourself. Enter a mine of rubies and bathe in the splendor of your own light. And so take a breath. Allow yourself to close your eyes, uncross your legs, your hands, your eyes. And see in the center of the room a large fireball radiating like a sun. Breathe. And now think of your life on the physical plane. And into the center of the fireball, place anything on the physical plane that you want to transform right now that's no longer useful to your soul growth and your purpose. As it goes into the center of the fireball, see it transformed. transmuted. And the energy of life is released like the rays of the sun. Breathe. Now we see this fireball turn into a blazing yellow sun and place into the center of the sun any emotions, desires, hurts, any ways of running energy that are no longer useful in present time to the service of your soul. And see those energies transformed into a radiant spoke of pure energy in all directions. It goes out in all the colors of the rainbow. Breathe. Now the sun turns into a deep indigo blue color. And we place into the center of the indigo sun any separative thoughts, thought forms, ideas, concepts that are interfering with your present time, soul's expression. And as they enter the sun, see these thought forms transformed into radiant spokes of pure energy, again being released into the space in all the colors of the rainbow. Breathe. And now we see our soul itself appear in the center of our space. All of the life and the light that's been released, we offer to the soul's plan and purpose. And we feel as the energy rises up to our soul and into the group soul, and then infuses the greater plan and purpose of God, the creator of the universe. And now from the group soul, we see an energy of golden light shower down around us, descending into our crown center and all the way through all of our chakras and energy centers, cleansing, purifying, preparing us for what the next cycle is to come, knowing that we are a part of that cycle and we are responsible for creating the next steps in humanity's purpose. And see that light come out from you, filling your personal space with love, light, and power, so that all who know you, all who are in your presence from this moment forward, are truly blessed. And let us put our hands together, palm to palm in front of our hearts, raising them from our hearts to our forehead, heart to mind. And let's say the Hindu word for peace as we open our palms. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May peace prevail on earth. And so it is. We don't do elbows. We hug.
That was deeply touching and so beautiful. Thank you, Reverend Rebecca. I'm reminded, before we move to our offertory, I'm reminded by that talk that you made a quick reference to this business. And you know, this is the biggest business there is, the business of one's own soul's journey. It's a big business and it requires a lot of work and management and investment, the investment of self. How beautiful that is. And to be reminded that we need to do course correction as we are magnets, and to be the authentic self, not the copycat, sealed by a beautiful visual. Thank you. I notice we have 3 new people here today, and we're so delighted to have you. Thank you for joining us. And I'd like to just hear your names. David. Thank you. And David, Lauren, Jean. Yes, David, Lauren, and Jean, welcome. Thank you. One of the things that I love about being back together, I'm becoming very flexible back with my mask because flexibility, you see, I changed my perspective on that. I said, the mask helps to keep me safe. Therefore, I like the mask. Okay, I like the mask. And here we are back together, and I'm seeing wonderful beloveds that I haven't seen for a while. And I want to just give a warm welcome back to our friend Bill Barron. Yes, hi, Bill. You saw us through a number of very interesting years at Unity. I think about you all the time. And we're so grateful for everything that you gave us and bringing us to this day. So thank you all for being here with us. And now we move to our offertory. And the reason I in particular love this time of recognizing with gratitude all that I have as part of my spiritual practice, I am reminded about how important it is to feel grateful and to give in gratitude to all of those entities that feed you. That's the way we do it in New Thought. We recognize where we've received our good. And then we continue to support that because it keeps the cycle going. Yes, yes, yes. So hold to your heart with gratitude all that you have received and all that you give, because they're all the same thing. And say with me the prosperity blessing. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And before we close, we get to say together our prayer of protection. And this is a fabulous prayer. When I first came to Unity, it was new to me. And then I learned a little bit about the history of this. And so as you say the prayer of protection, know that it is a prayer with a very strong vibration that works around you in your space, and you're sending out from your heart to all, and it comes back to you. So join me in saying, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.